DreAllDay.com.
Baldwin, balloverseas.com, the overseas basketball blueprint. Today, I'm going to answer the question, is overseas basketball actually professional basketball? Those of you who are watching this on video, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, comment on the video. Let me and everybody else know that I am literally the plug, not literally, but the plug for making it happen when it comes to playing basketball overseas, especially players who come from smaller backgrounds. And if you're listening to this on audio, Apple Podcasts, leave a review, let everybody know that we are giving you the game when it comes to playing basketball overseas. So the question is overseas basketball actually professional? For us to answer the question, first let's establish a baseline and get a definition of this word professional. Professional means, one says, relating to or belonging to a profession. I don't like that definition because you use the word in the definition. Engaged in a specific activity as one's main paid occupation rather than as a pastime. That's the definition we're going to talk about here today. So let me say it one more time. Engaged in a specific activity as your main paid occupation rather than as a pastime. In other words, are you making money from it? If you are making money to play basketball, that makes you a professional basketball player. Now, being professional, do you make enough money that you could at least take care of yourself playing professionally? Does overseas basketball offer that? The answer is yes, it absolutely does. Now, there's a range of money that you could be making. I talked about this in other content. You can look it up. You could play overseas and be making nothing. There are players who go overseas and play for free just so they can get their foot in the door. There are players who play overseas and are not making much money at all just so they can get their foot in the door and just have a chance to show what they can do. But there are also players playing overseas who are making 6 and 7 figures to play overseas. And there's a bunch of players who are in between those two, between the 0 and between the 7 figures. But here's the things that you need to understand about playing basketball overseas. Most of the time, 98% of the time when you're playing basketball overseas, you do not have to pay for your housing. You are not paying for your transportation. If they give you a vehicle to transport yourself, you're not paying for that. You're not paying any utilities. You're not paying water. You're not paying electric. You're not paying for heat. You're not paying for gas. You're not paying the internet bill. So all of these things that are usual bills when you live in the United States. In the United States, you got a mortgage or rent. You got your car. If you have a car, you got to pay for that. Maybe you got to pay for the gas if they give you a car. You might have to pay for that. Then is the utilities. You got to pay for your internet access. You got to pay for your electricity. You're paying water. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to pay for when you live in the United States just as a normal citizen. When you're playing overseas, all of those things are covered by the team. So you don't have those expenses. So your cost of living when you're playing overseas is actually very low. And the team often is paying for your meals. Even if they're only paying for 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day, your food costs, your grocery costs is much lower because it's not like you got to pay for every meal and you have to cook every single meal on your own. The only food you're buying, like I talked about in the previous episode, is if you're like me and you like to snack a lot. I do a lot of snacking. So I eat candy, chips, whatever else I like. I don't know, whatever I see that I like, I eat. Now, I don't eat recklessly. Being an athlete, even now, not an athlete, professional athlete anymore. I still work out every day, but I don't eat recklessly, but I eat what I want to eat. If I see something I like, I get it. So if you're like me and you need those extra calories, you're eating all kinds of other stuff, even just buying that isn't cost you as much as you got to buy every single meal that you eat. So your cost of living, what actually are your fixed costs when you're playing overseas? Maybe you got to pay to access the internet if you use it a lot, if you're a big internet user, which I know many of you are. Maybe you had to pay for a phone if you get a local phone. Or maybe you got your American phone and you want to get a local phone so you can talk to people locally. If you can't do that, I think you pretty much do it through your local phone now. Just change the SIM cards and stuff like that. Might not even need to do that. So maybe you got to pay for that. What else? You don't have any other fixed costs. Maybe if you're calling home a lot and you use Skype or something like that, you might have a fixed cost for that. But other than that, you ain't really paying that much for anything else. So all the money that you make, even if it's not a lot of money, even if it's $500, you ain't even got to spend the whole $5 on your fixed costs when you're playing overseas. The rest of that money you could put away, you could send it back home, you could do whatever you want to do it. You could trick it off, do whatever you want to do with that money. So is it enough for it to be your main paid occupation? Yes, because you don't have the living expenses that an American has. So with $500, if everything's paid for, you ain't got to pay for nothing. That money is play money for you, or save money, or investing money, or send back home money, or take care of your family money, whatever it is that you got to do. So is it professional? Absolutely it is. So being professional, based on this definition of it being your main paid occupation as opposed to a pastime, actually can be relative because it depends on how much money you need for something to be your main occupation, right? If you live in a 10-bedroom house and you got 3 cars, all of them got a note, and you got 3 kids you got to take care of and 3 baby moms that you're paying child support to, your main paid occupation got to be a lot of money. But if you ain't got none of that, it's just you ain't got no responsibilities, you don't owe anybody nothing, you ain't got no kids, you don't have no bills, your main paid occupation can be down here and you're good with this much money. So main paid occupation depends on what your lifestyle is looking like. So when you're playing overseas, if everything's taken care of or so many things are taken care of, you don't have as much challenge that somebody in America would have when it comes to main paid. So a lot of times Americans, they might be looking at whatever they see or think a player overseas is making, and then they'll say something like, well, that ain't really that much money. But again, it's relative to what you need. How much money do you need to live this lifestyle? If all your bills are taken care of, you ain't got to pay for nothing. How much do you actually need to be making? Not really that much. All right, you don't have that many fixed costs. So even if you look at something like the G League, where their salaries are posted on the internet and you can find those players don't have the expenses that you have. All right, they don't have cars. They don't pay for their rent. They are not paying for their meals. They're not paying for their travel. The only things they're paying for are things that they're not paying for internet access. That comes with, they're paying for their cell phone, and then whatever family, if they got family, if they got kids, they got to send money for that. They got to pay with that. But let's say you don't have kids, you don't have a family, you're not married, you paying a cell phone bill. That's pretty much it. And then all the apps on your phone that you pay for. That's pretty much it. So how much money do you actually need to live? Not that much. So whatever you're making in the G League, you're pretty much good with that. Now, do you want to make more? I'm sure you do. Now, you know where to go get it. You playing in the G League, you know where you got to go to get the rest of that money. If it ain't going to be the league, it's one other place to get it, and you know it's available. Your agent probably already told you. So that's the deal. That's the way that it works when it comes to, is overseas basketball actually professional? Hopefully I've answered the question cleanly enough for people to understand that. If you want to learn more about playing basketball overseas, get this book, and you want to actually play, go to balloverseas.com, get your free copy of this book. Yes, you heard me, free 99. Balloverseas.com. The book is already paid for. I paid for the book. All you do is cover the shipping, small shipping charge. We ship it to you worldwide, anywhere that you live. If you want to get the full bundle, not only this book, but 3 other books, this book explains the business side of the game, overseas basketball secrets. The truth about overseas basketball exposure camps was the self-explanatory title. You want to know about exposure camps? This book tells you what you need to know, what to do and what not to do. And when it comes to basketball agents, I decoded the entire system of basketball agents, why they do what they do, why one would be interested in you, why they wouldn't be, all covered in this book. You can get all 3 of these as part of the bundle I call the Overseas Blueprint Bundle. You don't have to get these though if you don't want to. If you just want this one, just cover the shipping. We ship this to you worldwide, anywhere you live. balloverseas.com. My name is Dre Baldwin. When it comes to overseas basketball, you can also call me the plug. Work on your game. Dre all day.